with Castaldo. Another morning, beautiful morning. Look at the sky right now. Speaking to me in waves. I'm gonna wait for a couple people to join before John. Today's interesting, mind-blowing information we're going to be talking about, and I'm going to be making a post on my Patreon, a series of posts actually about not only what I've been seeing and getting visions from and traveling in my dream time. Like, certain people are calling to me in spirit that have also dedicated their lives to researching these topics because of their own personal experiences. And I feel that I was the only person ever to put a crystal skull in that little altar type stone that's beneath the cat stone, the balanced rock of North Salem, New York. Underneath it is there's a stone, one of the stones that it's underneath it that it's balancing on. There's like a carved out section on top of the stone, which I placed a crystal skull in about a year or so ago. And then I laid underneath that. And I feel from what I understand is that somehow information was imprinted into my crystal skull. And then when I took that back home with me, by using orgone pyramids and other things through meditation, I've been getting downloads. You could say from God, from the universe. And it's led me to people that I didn't even know existed. Certain researchers from the past, from the 1800s, other places, other times and places that I didn't even know existed at the time. And I would wake up with just a knowing of this person and a knowledge of this person. So I'm doing a little pre-show right now before I leave. I'm going to charge my phone up, and then I'm going to do another show in a little while. I mean, I literally wrote a song yesterday, or part of a song, from my experience and from something that I was just coming to me while I was playing music yesterday live on YouTube. Now, what's very interesting is that I've been getting shown ancient technology for a reason. All of this is getting shown because we need this again. We need this technology again. And I know there's not too many people in the chat room right now, but I feel it's a need to get this information out real quick before sometimes it gets lost in the ether. Sometimes it gets lost, you forget it or something. So I've been writing a lot of it down, but I was seeing what I feel is ancient Saqqara as well, a city of the dead beneath the ground, and all of these granite sarcophaguses and all of these things built was made by these dog-headed, all types of weird beings, and they were using something that I saw that could even be fit into a wall that looked like two crescent moons with their backs against each other, almost like a wedge too, and they were glowing, and they were doing some sort of sound manipulation, like some sort of harmony frequency that was changing the density of things or something, like being able to lift stones this way as well, and even quarry and dig through rock, weakening the stone or something. It was like it was like two crescent moons with their backs against each other, one going this way and one going that way, but then touching in the middle. and it was glowing like golden. And, for some reason, that was producing some sort of harmony. Now, what is mind blowing is that I've been drawn to researching not part of it's from my heritage. Part of it's because these walnut trees are connected to my heritage, and even more so that it's just been. I know that there's something that I'm meant to connect and meant to uncover from this. I've gotten visions of things my whole life about this. In fact, I'm connected to crows as well, ravens, and I felt like the ravens are part of this as well, and they're carrying some ancient tale or ancient information that can be telepathically received from them from this event. It's in their genetic memory as a species. And that is of Emperor Nero. Now, from what I've seen in my visions, and now my research has been completely backing it up, is that Emperor Nero's was infested with what we call dark ones, right? But what are these dark ones? Of course, I've mentioned that they are the disembodied spirits of ancient races that were once here, like the Rephaim and different races over time. Children of the Nephilim, right? Interdimensional beings that were able to use some sort of technology to have vessels, bodies on this planet in our physical realm. They were able to take bodies and then able to mix their DNA or do some sort of genetic experiments with humanity. And ever since this has taken place, they have been watchers, interdimensional, hyperdimensional, our higher dimensional brain, any spiritual access, any spiritual technology or information or higher dimensional knowledge is guarded by these beings. Now, these cities of the dead were encoded. The sarcophagus that these things are, and a lot of them have sacred bulls buried in these sarcophagus. Now, these bulls, I believe, were guarding the soul. They were guarding the spirit. They were guarding the information. And each sarcophagus is some sort of capsule that's multi-dimensional. It's involved in transporting and travel and storage. And I feel that the spiritual technology that was being involved with all of the obelisks and the Sphinx and the pyramids, things that we don't even know about, the Djed pillar and things like this, they were keeping the codes and the spiritual technology along with all of these sarcophaguses that you see, which are basically caskets of the dead, right? All of this was being kept alive. Every walls were living, breathing. Let me try to explain this better so I don't sound like a loon. These cities of the dead, the very walls were alive from what I've seen. The literal walls were breathing. They're alive and they manifest things. They can even bring fear, and different entities can come through the walls and things like this. You can smell the fear in some of these places. You could smell the fear pulsating out of the walls from different things that have taken place. And I feel when they were disturbed by whoever, not just in more recent times, but in ancient times as well, it released various different codes that activate beings within our consciousness and physical manifestations on our planet as a result of that. When things manifest within the spiritual realms, there is some sort of counterpart to that in our physical realm. It could be a drought, it could be a plague, it could be a virus, it could be one of many, many, many things. And it's my understanding that Emperor Nero, somehow that person who was Emperor Nero, was infested with fallout of these cities of the dead. It might even been from an Etruscan city of the dead that was taken over, that was raided. And it's most likely it was from an Etruscan one, but these are related to ancient Egyptian as well. The Etruscans, the Phoenicians, all of this is coming from the same Atlantean technology as the ancient Egyptians. So I'm going to be talking about today Emperor Nero and these cities of the dead and the technology and the things that I've been shown concerning ancient Egypt. And my research has been backing it up. And everybody has known that that's been following my work. I've been talking about the different places where walnut trees were used to lock down evil by the shaman, the witches, the mystics of the area. And then in many cases, two main cases that I've been talking about, the church was responsible for taking down that walnut tree and supposedly getting rid of that evil. Now, if you look into the history of the Piazza del Popolo, I don't know if you could find it on Wikipedia, but if you do a little bit more digging, you'll probably have to buy people's books that have done intense research on it and stuff like that. Or go to like a Roman Catholic website, an old Roman Catholic website or something like that, where they have the true history of churches. Right on that spot, not only do they have the obelisk of the sun god Ra, right on the very spot that walnut tree was. When that walnut tree, mind you, at one time Emperor Nero's bones were beneath it, and it was sealing the evil within him. Emperor Nero was even plagued with the frog spirits of ancient Egypt. Now, if you look into ancient Egypt, they had 9 creator gods, the Ogdode. I don't know if it was the 8 Ogdode and the 9 creators, but there's 2 different hierarchies of gods that you could find in Egypt. There's the 8, and then there's the 9. The Ogdode is one of these, where there's like Kek, all these different frog-headed beings. I do believe that species that was worshipped at one time to certain people in the population, they had some sort of spiritual technology protecting their information, protecting their ancient encodings that is all over ancient Egypt and the cities of the dead, necropolises, even ancient Etrusca. Now, the walnut tree was always said to be riddled with ancient ravens, crows. And not only was that obelisk put on that spot, but they also built a church. One of the most famous churches in all of Italy is the Santa Maria del Popolo, right in the Piazza del Popolo, which they have 3 churches in that piazza. But Santa Maria del Popolo was literally built to chase away the ghosts of Emperor Nero. Literally. In fact, there's a still to this day they talk about how the church is haunted with these evil spirits of Emperor Nero. Thank you so much. You found me from Rex? No doubt. No doubt. I also have, if you could support me right here in the super chat, you can always support me here. You can always go to my website if you want spiritual tools like tensor tools, custom made, top of the line crystals, readings, dream interpretation. My patreon.com/themysticalspiral, where I put mind-blowing information up. $2 gets you in the door to join. And even though we took a couple weeks off with my Zoom chats, I will be starting weekly Zoom chats again on Patreon. So today we're going to be going deep down Even if you want t-shirts from my radio show. I have a weekly radio show, everybody. For those that are just joining, that just found me today, uh, I have a weekly radio show on Truth Frequency Radio Network. In fact, I've been doing a radio show for a few years now. First, I was on the Para X Radio Network, and then I moved on to a bigger network, Truth Frequency Radio. Now, my show is on Saturday nights from 7 to 9 Eastern, and it's called Eye of Ra. And yes, my name is Ra Castaldo. I am the host and creator of the show. And this week, my guest will be David Parry, who's an old school Catholic priest. And he's a buddy of... Hold on, let me fix my phone, because my phone's battery's dying. I gotta fix the light went down on me. Alright, I fixed it. So, he's an old school Catholic priest. I met him from my good buddy Leo Zagami. Leo Zagami said, hey, this would probably be a good interview for you, so check this guy out. So me and David, we've been conversing through emails and phone for a couple of weeks now. And even though we haven't talked about too many topics, we just like been keeping in touch because he's been going here and there. And then now we've finally linked it up where he could come on this Saturday night. He has a few things he wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the Catholic saints and the resurrection of the dead and things like that. So it's going to be an interesting discussion. Just interview people because they have a name. One time I did. When I was my older shows, I would have a different guest every week just because they're well known and you know, I figured it would be an interesting conversation. It always was an interesting conversation. I've never had a bad interview, pretty much. Even the one that I argued with the guy, we still had a very interesting interview. He was just, unfortunately, detoxing from, like, opiates at the time, and he was not in the condition to have an interview. So, but he comes from a very well-known aviation background. I'm not going to say his name here on YouTube. People know it that have been following my work for a while, and they can figure it out if they know my work, and if you look on my catalog from Truth Frequency Radio, eventually you figure it out. But I'm not going to throw his name there like that, but he's very well known, and I respected his information, but he was not in the right condition to do an interview, so it was he ended up being like real snotty and grumpy and short-tempered, so it wasn't working out. So we ended up parting ways in the middle of the interview, but it was very interesting. But I only have people now on that I interview that has to do with the research that I'm working on and certain topics that I'm discussing. Just way we're both just as invested in the information we're discussing as the other. So it's not just one guy saying, okay, tell me what's the most interesting thing you've researched, or like coast to coast, like that's the kind of thing. I don't do just basic interviews like that. You know, I go way deeper on my show. So, you know, it's just for me, it's more exciting radio. If you want to tune in for 2 hours to just nonstop exciting information and intriguing information, which my goal is to have you, when you finished listening to that radio program, you're almost intrigued to go do some digging yourself. You know, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I like to spark the remembrance of the past in people with new, exciting, cutting-edge info of the very ancient. That's my specialty, is ancient history, ancient mysteries, occult history, especially the Etruscan culture, the ancient Egyptian culture, which I'm very heavily connected to. Ancient Atlantis, things like this is what I've dedicated my whole life in, because I've had certain experiences that showed me this is not myth, that this is reality, that this is our distant past, distant future, all running right now in the eternal now, and that we can all tap into it and be shown. So today I'm going to charge my phone up. I have to do a few things for the baby and for my wife and get some things together. And then later, we're going to do a live show. And it's going to be intense. Now, if you want to join my Zoom chats, if you want to join my Patreon, it's patreon.com/themysticalspiral. This week, I'm running a deal on my website. I'm not going to have this available all the time. It's going to be buy one, get one half off. Or if you want a reading, better book it now, because things get way booked towards holiday time. So there's all sorts of things for all different people. Even if you just want a t-shirt, I have t-shirts available from my website. My spiral out quote that I always say, spiral out t-shirts with the Eye of Ra on the back. I also have Kids Sleep t-shirts. That's my comic book. And my comic book that I'm making, which is mind-blowing information. So everybody, we're going to be going deep into the ghost, or